Session for a staff update on Mystery May mooring buoys, shellfish harvesting, and preparation of a management plan. So, turn over to Al.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Al Scalf, DCD Director, and Morley, County Administrator, and David Alvarez, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, is available as well. On my update, I wrote on the board for the Commissioners the Jefferson County role. Our Public Health Department is involved with Mystery Bay mooring buoys and shellfish through their water quality program and through the shellfish monitoring in relationship to the State Department of Health, which classifies all shellfish areas based upon their program. So our Public Health Department, particularly Neil Harrington, is involved in this through water quality and shellfish. Community Development is involved through our Shoreline Master Program, which permits mooring buoys. And in this particular case with Mystery Bay, it's actually a complaint case. So our enforcement section, JCC 18.50, is the area of my authority as I examine and investigate and research issues relative to permitted and unpermitted buoys through the SMP. So essentially, right now, in the stakeholder group, which I'll go into shortly, we've come back down to using the county's data. There's a lot of ways to count buoys and a lot of agencies involved. The permitting agencies, the local government, of course, Jefferson County is the Shoreline Management Program. Fish and Wildlife, the state has a hydraulic project approval, and the Department of Natural Resources state has a title lease program. So they're actually the property owner. We're involved with what's on the water, and so is the State Department of Fish and Wildlife. The Corps of Engineers are involved as well, and they're a little more progressive. So we've kind of been back and forth for a number of years about how to count these buoys, and we are now back to the point of a buoy count using the Jefferson County data. So what's lawful? We have our exemption permits. Our data shows there's 12 lawful exemptions. There's 17 lawful substantial development permits, and 5 are grandfathered, meaning they predate the Shoreline Master Program adoption. So as of the count today, I'll tell you there's 34 lawful buoys in Mystery Bay.
Why do you tell the people why they're exempt as opposed to STPs?
Thank you. That was my question.
Jefferson County buoys exempt XMP it has a residential upland owner. So it's in correlation. It has a buoy out in front of the actual property ownership with a home. Okay, so I call it upland residential. Those are the XMPs, as distinguished from the substantial development permit, which are all others. So a person in Bellevue can apply for an SDP to put a mooring buoy in the middle of Mystery Bay, but they don't have to have a residential ownership. Those folks that have the upland owners and the SMP or SMA, Shoreline Management Act, provides for their use as a residential upland as a property right. So they're exempt. It's still a permit. It's not as sophisticated review. It's administrative versus the SDP, substantial development permit, is a type 3 hearing examiner to review in public notice and public hearing. So Jefferson County, we call them XMPs exemptions. We call them SDP, shoreline substantial development permits. Now, the State Department of Health, they have a method of counting themselves for shellfish classifications. So they also have what they consider is exempt. And that's the upland residents. Basically, they have a bathroom available. So a mooring buoy with a boat that has an upland residence generally is, in theory, has no potential for discharge. So they really don't count that as far as their accounting for the National Shellfish Sanitation Program and the definition of a marina, which is 10 boats. So in terms of counting for the marina threshold from the State Department of Health, they use exemption as meaning there's a bathroom available, and then they count the ones where there are not bathrooms available. So those are those buoys out in the middle of the bay that somebody ties up a boat. They don't live upland. They don't have a residence available. They have potential for discharge. And that's kind of the general areas of how we count buoys. The county counts them through our master program, and the state is looking at from the EPA National Shellfish Standards and looking for a marina. We've been discussing whether we should make a marina a partial inland bay and a partial out bay, so 2 areas for marina definitions, therefore 20 boats or 10 boats as a threshold. That's part of the discussion we're having at the stakeholder group. So as this complaint case has evolved over the last few years, eventually Representative Vanderway became involved and requested the stakeholder group. He also, through this process, the Office of Regulatory Assistance provided a facilitator, and his name is Alan Bogner. He comes from the Governor's Office and the Office of Regulatory Assistance. The stakeholder group is similar to those folks that have been interested in Mystery Bay. They include not only the permitting agencies, but local tribe representation. So the stakeholder group is a general group of people interested in Mystery Bay shellfish and boating and maintaining the high quality of shellfish. Office of Regulatory Assistance, both Neil and I are on the stakeholder group. State Department of Health, the Shellfish Program, State Department DNR, Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission, Jefferson County Marine Resource Committee, the Maristone Island Shellfish Company, Jake Johnson is involved, Jamestown Tribe, Legislative District Rep through Kevin Vanderway, back to DOH, State Health, Fort Flagler State Park, Park Rangers involved, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Fort Gamble, I already mentioned, Point No Point Treaty Council, WDFW, the Pacific Coast Shellfish Growers Association, the Suquamish Tribe has recently joined, and we meet on various, we have both a subcommittee working on specific issues and a monthly stakeholder group. As the process has been brought forward, in my agenda request, you see that we're considering, the issue is the threat of the closure of shellfish harvesting in Mystery Bay because of too many boats anchored or moored near the shellfish beds. We're considering all the uses. We're looking at how we can balance everybody's rights here to use the bay for recreational, for commercial purposes, for recreational shellfish or commercial shellfish, for water quality type issues and residential uses and land uses and boating uses, transient boating, as well as mooring for individuals who live upland. And you see in our strategy in the agenda request, we're essentially looking at how to reduce the number of buoys around the shellfish harvest sites and how we can make the bay a no-anchor zone as a voluntary measure, similar to the Port Townsend experience, which was understandably very, very positive. Removing unpermitted buoys and vessels not properly permitted, relocating mooring buoys as possible to open up areas for navigation. So with a cluster of them, perhaps we should open up some channels for navigation in and out. Establish a community monitoring education effort. You see in the schedule we're planning to go out for a public meeting in January. And we're working at the stakeholder level essentially to build that consensus with a number of parties. We're employing an individual to write a management plan, and this management plan would cover a number of those issues. And it's utilized a management plan which we would ask you to adopt by resolution as a general police power concept of the county in view of these issues. So it's not a GMA action, it's not a shoreline master management action. It's mostly a police power and the commissioners resolving of issues of importance to our public interest. We would ask you to adopt that, and the agencies would use them in different ways. State Department of Health